Hello guys, and welcome back to the Traitors. And today, we're going to be rounding up episode 1, doing a little bit of a recap, a little bit of a review, and talking about some of the gameplay and strategy that some of these players may be implementing throughout the series. I gotta say, Season 1 was my reality show of 2022. Last year was Big Brother, the year before was The Traitors, and I'm so excited for The Traitors to come back. I was extremely worried that the second season wasn't going to live up to the hype and the drama and the intrigue that Season 1 set up, but my God, I've watched the first 3 episodes. Incredible. It's genuinely just as good as you think it's going to be, and somehow even better in some respects. So, without much further ado, let's get into meeting some of the 22 cast members. 22 is a lot of people, I will put that in, but we don't get to know everyone straight away. I feel like by the end of episode 3, I knew everybody to an extent. I didn't, like, so even the people that died or were banished, I knew a decent amount, so that when they left, I was like, oh, there was no one that left, and I was like, I don't really care about them anyway, and I feel like it's only going to get tougher throughout the series. The first 5 people that we met were Anthony, Charlotte, Paul, Sonia, and Aubrey, and the only note I had for those 5 was Sonia is an icon already. She came in with the glasses, she just looked hilarious. I love her already. She is an icon. Whilst on the train, Diane spoke about how she plays games with her family, so she feels like she's got a very strategic mind. Ash said she feels like she needs some adventure in her life and wants to embrace the experience, which I thought was really nice. Aubrey, oh, I did write down something about Aubrey. Aubrey had a fantastic hat on, looked absolutely incredible, and he also has a cat called Luther Vandross, which was quite entertaining to hear. Paul said that he feels like he can read people and draw them in. He's a very, very good mimic, and he said something along the lines of, I can be the person you want me to be, which I think is absolutely key for this game. This game is all about deception and lying to people, so that kind of person is going to do very, very well in this game. And then Tracy revealed that she is a clairvoyant. I think that could work against her, if I'm being honest. We saw that in the last series with Alex's boyfriend, was it Tom, when he revealed that he's like a magician and he's very good at reading people, and they voted him out because he was dead set on it being this certain person and it wasn't, which was kind of funny. But yeah, on the whole, interesting characters amongst the bunch of them. No one's standing out apart from Sonia. Yeah, but I have a feeling that we'll get to know everybody in a really intimate way throughout the course of the series, because that's what this show does. You actually have no friends in this game. You have allies, but you have no friends. Everyone could stab you in the back at some point, and that is the crazy part about this game. So everyone stood outside of the massive castle, and Claudia did her little introduction. I gotta say, Claudia Winkleman is a fantastic host. She might be one of the best hosts of like a reality show that I've seen in a very, very long time, because not only does she have the sort of dramatics and the sort of flair that you need to kind of sell this idea, but she does it without being cheesy. There's sometimes when people do this and it feels forced or it feels canned, but it feels so natural with Claudia. And you can also tell that she genuinely cares about the people on the show as well. Like, she'll genuinely get involved in the challenges, not like physically, but she'll be like, come on, you could do this. Whereas I feel like other hosts aren't quite the same, or they're not quite on the contestant side as much, but you can tell that Claudia genuinely is. So her opening monologue was fantastic. She explained the rules of the game, and then she asked everyone to get into the dreaded line from most likely to win to least likely to win. Now, last season, the two people at the bottom of the line, i.e. the people least likely to win, were eliminated immediately, which was a cruel twist. This year they didn't do that, but it was interesting to note who was at the top and who was at the bottom. Andrew put himself at the top. Ash put herself at the bottom. Bottom. So it was a very, very interesting way to start the series, because immediately I'm looking at this line and I'm going, I wonder sort of what the elimination order will be and how that will stack up with who was in that line. I think that'll be something very, very interesting to look at. A couple of other things before we get into the traitor choice. Miles and... now, there are two blonde women that look very, very similar. Charlie and Evie. And I'm fairly certain that Miles was talking to Evie at this point. I could be wrong. And they were both talking about how they're both veterinarian? Is that the right word? They're both vet nurses, which I thought was quite cool. Harry was talking about how he's a typical lad from the army, but he also said that he learnt something from the army that said, if you can't be good, be careful. And if you're going to do something wrong, basically don't get caught. So Harry, I was watching with my friend, and my friend was instantly like, oh, I don't like Harry. But like, she started to warm towards him, like after an episode or two. If you don't know, no one goes home at the end of this episode. So yeah, everyone survives the night basically, but there is a cool twist, so we'll get to that in a little bit, don't you worry. And last but not least, Sonia was walking through the sort of breakfast area, and she saw all the portraits on the wall, and she just went pew pew to all of them, and it was so funny. She's genuinely such a lovely, funny woman, and I'm so excited for her to cause a little bit of drama and have a little bit of spice in the game, I must say. So, as with last year, Claudia Winkleman interviewed all of the contestants and asked them whether they wanted to be a traitor or not. Interestingly, a lot of people said they wanted to be traitors, but Diane said, I don't want to be a traitor because lying is not in my nature, which I thought was very, very interesting, because I know a couple of people on the last season said they didn't think they could be traitors, but I think it's very interesting that someone came down so hard on that. I couldn't do that. I would not want to do that. And I think that's very, very interesting, because it's hard. It's hard to be a traitor, because you're essentially backstabbing everyone. You're choosing who plays the game and who doesn't play the game, and then you've got to lie through your teeth about it. It's hard sometimes to do that. I mean, I've had a lot of practice with similar games, playing things like Mafia, Werewolf, even I got the Traitors card game for Christmas, which is incredibly fun. If you haven't got it, please buy it, because it is so much fun, and my friends and me have pulled out some insane strategies to win, which is really, really cool. So yeah, it's difficult to lie to people that you don't know as well, because they can pick up on anything and be like, oh, you looked weird. And that's kind of where I'm going with this segment. So she walks around the table, Claudia, everyone's got blindfolds on, they're blindfolded, they can't see anything. This is tense. Claudia's walking around picking the traitors. She ended up picking Paul, Ash, and Harry, which, I gotta say, very interesting trio. Not who I would have picked. I would have picked Sonia, but then again, I think Sonia is a very obvious pick. She said in her interview with Claudia that she wants to be a killer because no one would suspect someone who knits to be able to kill. And then she said something like, knitting and killing. What a fabulous idea. And Sonia's my fave. I love her. Big love to Sonia, wherever you are. You're not going to be watching this video, but big love to you, my love. And essentially, there were only 3. We thought there was going to be more, and then Claudia dropped the bomb that one of them is going to be another traitor. But the current traitors get to choose their next ally, which is an insane twist for episode 1. It explains why no one's going home, episode 1, which, like, again, I was a little bit disappointed at first, because I was like, oh, the best thing is, like, who's leaving the game? But I think this is a good twist because it means that the game can change. There's now 4 killers instead of 3. Last year only had 3 at once. Now we've got 4, which I think is a fascinating twist. It changes the dynamics a little bit. It tips the scales a little bit more in the traitors' favour, which, honestly, you're always rooting for the traitors. You're not really rooting for the faithful at the end of the day. So, yeah, good twist. Very, very excited. But they were suspicious already. Diane, as soon as she took her blindfold off, thought that Harry was breathing differently. And was like, oh, I heard you breathing. And I was like, I was going to take off my mask and be like, are you okay? And Harry was sitting there going, that wasn't me, but okay. So essentially, Diane sussed him out immediately, which I think is really interesting because has she sussed him out or has it been a happy accident? But then what was interesting was that Harry switched it back on her a little bit later on, just before the challenge. No, just before they went to bed, and was like, oh, Diane was saying this, and a bit weird if you ask me. So the gameplay is starting already. They're already planting seeds in people's heads. Could Diane be trustworthy? Who knows? We'll have to find out. But the traitors met each other. I think they were a little bit shocked that it was each other, and then they were given the job of choosing someone. The 4 names that they came up with were Andrew, Miles, Sonia, and Diane. Those 4 are interesting because they bring unique things to the game. Andrew and Miles are very strong characters, physically and probably mentally, whereas Diane and Sonia have a more tactical mind and would be a tactical advantage for everyone, which I think is really interesting. So you've got to weigh up, do you want physical strength and do you want someone that's trusted by people, or, which was like Sonia and Miles, or do you want someone that's a little bit more tactical, like Sonia and like Diane? So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting to sort of see the nuances and see their thought process as well, because obviously we get to see, oh, it could be this person, it could be this person, it could be this person, and then working out what strategy they've gone with when the person is revealed. So I'm kind of going to condense breakfast and the first challenge into the same sort of segment here. Only a couple of interesting things happened at breakfast. Johnny revealed he has a prosthetic leg that he lost in Afghanistan, I think was the story he was telling. Because he's either, I think he's probably a retired army veteran. Because obviously they I don't know whether they allow prosthetic limbs in a war zone. I feel like that would not be great. Yeah. But the other thing that was interesting was Sonia came straight in, went up to Ash and went, are you a traitor? And it caught Ash off guard and she went, what? What? I can't hear you. And it was just a little bit awkward. And if anyone was actually paying attention to that moment, it probably would have set off alarm bells in my brain, because I'd have been like, that's a weird question. But also, I'd be the kind of person that if someone asked me I'm a traitor, yeah, of course I am. I'm going to stab you in the back tonight. Wink, wink. Just because I'm that kind of shit stirrer. So yeah, I would probably get voted out quite quickly in this game, I won't lie. I would love to take part in the traitors. My only issue is that, like, if I was a faithful, I don't want to die. I don't want to die and get taken out of the game. Oh, that's so boring. Oh, it's so tough. I'd want to be a traitor. I'd have to be a traitor, because then at least I know that I've played the game to the sort of the best of my abilities. If I get voted out, it's because I've made a poor miscalculation. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that would be the way I'd want to play it. I'd want to be a traitor, obviously. So the first challenge saw them taken to a lake. They had to take pontoons and fit them together so that they made like a shield. But they had to find the pattern for the shield in the bottles on the beach, and they were also tied to poles that they had to untie themselves from. It was a fairly overcomplicated challenge, but my god, it was dramatic and entertaining, because do you know what they added in? last season they had shields, but you could only win the shields if you won the challenge, and then you could only win a shield if you chose the correct box. So it was just a bit of a wasted opportunity. But now they've put shields in the challenges, which I think is really, really interesting, because it means that if you take time out of the challenge, essentially not aiming to get money for the team, you can guarantee yourself safety for the night, which I think is really interesting. So if you essentially don't work with the team and work for yourself, you can survive the night, but obviously it'll put you in the bad books with people, and that ended up happening with one particular person. So throughout the challenge, there was 1 on land, 2 in the water. Kyra undid herself, undid somebody else, and then basically ran and got the shield on land because she can't swim, so she couldn't get the ones in the water, which I think is absolutely fair. The ones in the water, Jazz was just on a boat and then went, fuck it, I'm going to go get a shield, and went and got a shield, and people were not happy with that. And then Harry also, so Harry's a traitor, remember? Harry also got a shield because he had done a lot of work, and then he was like, do you know what, I'm going to go get a shield because then it might make people think that I'm innocent, which I think is good, because a lot of people had the thoughts of work first, then get the shield. That kind of thing. Make sure we've got the money and completed the challenge, and then we can get the shield and ensure our safety. I've got to say, there was a maximum of £15,000 on offer here, and they are lucky they got it because they were down to the wire. It was hard. They had to row out in boats, bring pontoons together, make this shape, and then like light it up, which admittedly was quite a cool challenge, but oh my goodness, I was worried they weren't going to complete it at one point. I think they made it back to shore with like 4 minutes to spare. No, with like 15 seconds to spare, I wrote down. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, it was quite an interesting challenge. So it's time to talk about some suspicions, because we're winding up to the end of the episode. We didn't find out who the 4th traitor was. It kind of ended with them like just about to do the reveal. So that's how the episode ended. But before that, before they left the house and before the traitors met, some interesting things happened. On the car ride back, an interesting statement was brought up. I think it was Ross mentioned to the people he was in a car with that Zach had made a comment that he will sleep easy tonight. Obviously, someone's going to die tonight, and Zach doesn't have a shield. So it just kind of rung alarm bells, because essentially if you're a faithful and you don't have a shield, you could be murdered. So essentially you shouldn't be sleeping easy. It's not a comfortable position to be in. But he said that, and Zach later then said he's worried about dying. So he's like flip-flopping on the whole thing. And then even more interesting, Sonia started to stir the pot. And when Ross walked in and was like, oh, tell everyone what you were telling me about the comment, the Zach comment. And Ross was like, oh, well, he said this. But obviously now that's got Ross's back up, because he's like, Sonia, I told you that I told the people in that car in confidence. I was like, don't tell anyone, because like, it's probably nothing. But now Sonia's stirring the boat, mixing the pot. Sure, we'll go with that. So interesting things are happening. Zach's definitely a suspicious fellow to people. Sonia's now raising suspicions. Diane is watching people, which I think is really, really interesting. Anthony, so in the challenge, I think it was Jasmine was getting annoyed at Anthony because he was just bad at rowing, basically. Which, fair enough, if you've never rowed before, you're going to be bad at rowing. But she'd obviously said this to Zach, and then Zach said it to Anthony as like, I heard you were shit in the challenge, mate. And then Anthony's like, where have you heard that? Why are you spreading shit? So, like, again, Zach is not in people's good books, which I think is really interesting. Could wind out an early favourite to be banished. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's pretty much it for the episode. There was another interesting moment where Aubrey basically went, oh, I have my suspicions about who it is, and I know everything. And essentially it was very, very interesting to see him talking to, I think it was Ash and Diane about it. I don't know. Aubrey could end up on the chopping block, you never know. But that is it for today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. This is probably going to be a little bit of a longer episode. These episodes are probably going to be about 20 to 30 minutes, just because there's a lot to talk about. So there's so much to talk about, and there's so many interesting things. Put your thoughts in the description, not in the description, in the comment section. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.